but there's going to be great unrest in the Middle East. Now the unrest in Syria, is that part of it? Then maybe. But then remember also one other unrest that we are experiencing today in Yemen and Syria. If you look at history and if you've read Islamic history, this has happened in the past also. It's a repetition of history. It's not that is unique to our time. It's happened before. But أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قال الله تعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم القصاص في القتلى الحر بالحر والعبد بالعبد والأنثى بالأنثى فمن عفي له من أخيه شيء فاتباع بالمعروف وأداء إليه بإحسان ذلك تخفيف من ربكم فمن اعتدى بعد ذلك له عذاب أليم. O believer, kutiba alaykum al-qisas. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prescribed for you retribution. Al-qisas, equal retribution. Al-qisasu fil qatla, in regards to those people, those individuals who are murdered. Al-hurru bil-hurr, the free will be killed for the free. Wal-abdu bil-abd, a slave for a slave. Wal-untha bil-untha, a female for a female. It says, فَمَنْ عُفِيَ لَهُ, but if somebody is forgiven, فَمَنْ عُفِيَ لَهُ, if somebody is forgiven from his brother in regards to the blood money, فَمَنْ عُفِيَ لَهُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ, even if he's forgiven a part of it or a bit of it, and فَاتِّبَاعٌ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, then pursuing as recognized, فَاتِّبَاعٌ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَأَدَاءٌ إِلَيْهِ بِإِحْسَانٍ, and to give the payment and handing over the payment to the other party in fairness. ذَلِكَ تَخْفِيفٌ, this qisas, this evil, this equal retribution is takhfifun, is a takhfif from Allah. Takhfif means like something that is lightened. This is something that you are going to give a higher penalty, but it's a lighter penalty in regards to losing one's life, right? Reduction, right? ذَلِكَ تَخْفِيف. That so then it says مِنْ رَبِّكُمْ, from your Lord, and it says وَرَحْمَةً, and it's also a means of mercy. فَمَنْ اعْتَدَى بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ, and whoever goes over the limit, or whoever crosses the limits after that, فَلَهُ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ, and for that person is an evil punishment. And then Allah says وَلَكُمْ فِي الْقِصَاصِ حَيَاتٌ, and in qisas, in retribution, in equal retribution, there is life for you. And inshallah we'll come to it. وَلَكُمْ فِي الْقِصَاصِ حَيَاتٌ يَا أُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ, or people of intellect, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you can become God-fearing and so that you can become God-conscious. Yes, it's broadcasting. Yeah, I think so. I'm showing here that it's broadcasting. You didn't? I did send it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about qisas. Even though qisas is going to be discussed in other verses also in detail. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here is referring to an incident that happened between two qaba'il, two clans. These two clans, before accepting and entering the fold of Islam, had wars amongst. Now, when they used to have wars amongst them and they used to fight, obviously there's always somebody's going to be killed on either side. Had people killed on either side, one of them, they would say, okay, for every slave that we kill, that was killed on our side, we're going to kill this many free men on the other side. And for this person, we're going to kill this person and this person. So the way that the retribution process was unfair. And in the sense that, okay, a slave, if a slave is killed on this side, so we're going to kill a free man on that side. If a woman, a slave girl was killed on this side, say we're going to kill a free woman on the other side as equal retribution for the murder. Again, the process that was innovated by themselves. It was an innovative process. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when they entered into the fold of Islam, obviously their innovations were nullified. Now Islam, but there were other qabail also, not just the qabail of Medina. So now these two qabail, when they came with when the Prophet ﷺ heard what they had decided, these verses were revealed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, no. That how can a man, if the murderer is a man, then if irrespective if he kills a woman, if he kills a slave, or if he kills a female slave or a female, it doesn't matter who he kills. But the person who actually committed the murder will be killed in retribution. So irrespective of who's killed. Like, for example, if a slave is killed, it does not mean that on the opposite side, it had the other person has to be that is killed would be a slave. Whoever did the murder would be killed. So, and the people who are on the opposite side, they cannot demand that somebody other than the murderer be summoned for equal retribution in these type of situations. So, if the murderer is a woman and she killed a man, so will be killed in lieu of that man, the woman, right? That's the natural. The woman will be killed, but in their process, who would have been killed? Another male or somebody of a higher standing, right? Or if they couldn't find somebody of a higher standing, say we're going to kill two that is equal to one. So it was an innovated process. So in order to eradicate that innovation, these verses were revealed. Now, so that was the first part of the verse, that a free man for a free man, slave for a slave. It means that if a slave killed a slave, then the slave will be killed. If a free man killed a free man, then the free man will be killed. Not that somebody else will be killed in lieu of the murderer himself. Murdered. Agreed? Understood that much? Sisters, you understood? Okay. Now, the second part of it is, now we have a murdered, we have the family of we have the next of kin of the murdered, and then we have the murderer, right? Now, the family of the person who's murdered has options. First option is what? That the person who committed the murder be killed in equal retribution. That's it. The second is that you take blood money. Second is that you take blood money. Blood money is approximately 100 camels. 100 camels. Now, 100 camels at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. 100 at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. You're talking about a huge amount of money. Huge. Now, today, if you wanted to buy 100 camels, right, you might buy them for 300,000, but there are certain camels that cost 10,000. So depending on the type of camel, you're still talking, a man's life is over $1 million, over $1 million, even today. But then there are other crimes that are attached to that crime in the manner that that person was killed, the severity, the evilness, the pre-planning, etc., etc. Obviously, the judge has to decide all that. But if the family has that option, that they can take the blood money. Now, when they're taking the blood money, tell me, if a person has a family, how many heirs does that person have? He has brothers, sisters, he has children, he has daughters, sons, a wife, he has a father, he has a mother. So all of them will get the part of the blood money equal to their share of the inheritance. equal to the share of inheritance. So for example, the men will get double the share of women, right? The women will get half of the share of men. The wife will get 1/8, etc., etc., etc. Now, if one of the heirs decided that they wish to forgive the person, now one person says, one of the 6 heirs, hypothetical, there are 6 heirs. And from the 6 heirs, one of them says, you know what? I don't think that he really intended to kill this person or our relative or our brother or father or mother or our sister. I think this was done, there was no maliciousness in this. And I think we should settle rather than take his life, right? Now, if one person decides to take the blood money, the qisas will fall, the qisas will stop. The other people cannot demand that he be killed, and then one person be given money, right? So what will happen is everybody will be, even if one person you would need to be on the same page on this if you wanted to have this killed. Otherwise, even if one person decided to take the money, then the judge will nullify the verdict of him being killed, the murderer also being killed in equal retribution. So that was the second part, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that that فَمَنْ عُفِيَ لَهُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ شَيْءٌ فَاتِّبَاعٌ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَأَدَاءٌ إِلَيْهِ بِإِحْسَانٍ. So if person is forgiven in any manner, then you should pursue as recognized, and the money and should be fulfilled in fairness. Now, even if somebody forgave his share, that would be his favor upon that person. Doesn't mean that the other heirs will not get their share. Everybody will get their share. If a person forgives his share, it's up to him. But again, it is rare in cases of murder that the family is going to forgive, especially if there is cold-blooded murder involved, and if there's premeditated murder involved, it's difficult. But you will find that if the judge and the people of the community that are influential, there is a possibility that they might be able to get the murderer off the hook. That's if the people feel that this murder was not committed in that maliciously, and it wasn't a premeditated murder. Somebody's been killed, but it was a mistake, maybe, right? And then, but again, in the 6th juz, when we go into that part, we're going to go into detail. When we get there, but this was revealed in regards to those 2 qabail. Says ذَلِكَ تَخْفِيفٌ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ وَرَحْمَةٌ. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has reduced is a mercy from your Lord. ذَلِكَ تَخْفِيفٌ مِّن, and it's also a mercy from your Lord that sometimes in that it's not, he can be saved as long as the family. What happens if the murderer doesn't have the money? The blood money. But now, what happens if the man does not have the money? What then?
State.
The state will not pay on behalf. So remember, the Islamic system is unique, and because it's not practiced today, that's why it's alien to us. Of course, the murderer is not the only person held responsible for the murder, right? The murderer's father, the murderer's uncles, the murderer's cousins, the clan is held responsible. So the clan has to pay. So in those days, the entire clan would watch out for their people, that everybody's going on the straight line. Did something wrong, the whole clan's responsible, right? And nowadays, because we have gone away from that type of living with extended families and big qaba'il and clans, and again, living in extended families does not mean to live under the same roof, means to live together as as relatives. People rather nowadays people prefer non-relatives rather than relatives, right? So the blood money is going to be paid by the clan. The entire clan is responsible to pay. So yes, you might think that this is unfair, but truthfully, if you truly look at the wisdom and if you truly study it, you will find that there's great wisdom in it. Because now every child is going to be, there's going to be 10 security guards over him, making sure that he doesn't do anything, because everybody's going to be penalized if that one child does something wrong, right? So people look after their children of their own clan. So people were responsible to educating the children of the clan. People were making sure that they were morally educated people and that the children were of high morals and of etiquette. That's why the murders that we see, that the mass murders that we see currently in the United States of America, is because of only because of one reason: the systematic breakdown of the structure of the family structures. And because the family structures have been, and if you study it, I want you to study it. I don't want you to take my assessment on face value. I would like you to study it, and you will come see that there's a systematic breakdown of the entire system. You don't have to go far to look at that and analyze that. Look at that in your own masjid and in your own community. Nowadays, if a child comes into the masjid, right, and mothers, you can also be witness to this, that if somebody else tells something to your child, how dare that man to say something to my child? How dare he do that? I can remember when we were young, praying Salatul Tarawih behind the Imam, and we used to be like kids messing about at the back. And the older generation, Salat at the back, they used to reprimand us. They say, hey, get hit. And our fathers wouldn't say anything. They say, hey, get in line. Shh, shh, shh. We would be scared of that, right? But nowadays, who are you to tell me? You're not my dad. You're not my dad. You know, so like it's a systematic breakdown. And you know what? We are at fault. We are at fault at this as much as everybody else, meaning that we are not, we are also sinful of that same crime, because we are encouraging the breakdown. We are further, you know, that split, that fissure that came into the ummah, we are the ones that are further exploiting it. Nowadays, the teacher can't even look at the somebody incorrectly and say, oh, the teacher looked at my son with angry eyes, or looked at my child with angry eyes. Even though the teacher can't even do. Now listen, if the teacher can't do anything, if the community can't do anything, if the extended clan can't do anything, do you think parents can do something? The parents can't do anything too. Nowadays, even the parents can't do anything. So listen, it's a systematic breakdown of the system, and it is being designed that way. It's designed to fail. It's designed to fail. Actually, it's designed to make the lower class completely low. It is designed to break down the moral fabric of society. This is how it's designed. It is designed to corrupt the heart of every man and every woman. It is designed to a person to indulge in the desires of himself, of his nafs, and his desires. That's what the system is designed for. Now, Islam is different. Islam's system is different. Islam's tradition is different. Islamic laws are different. It's designed completely differently. Islam's design is to bring together the fabric of the community. Is to inculcate and incorporate high morals in our children. And Islamic tradition, Islamic law brings together people where in individualism, in Islam, it's collectivism, right? That collectiveness has been destroyed. Now, I just want you to look back into history, and I just want you to don't look too far back. Just look back about 100 years. Tell me, 100 years ago, in the Indian subcontinent, when there was no lines, no borders separating Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh, and there was, and Hind used to be a huge colony that the British used to rule. That's my country. There used to be, and then tell me that in those days, how many homes do you find for the elderly? How many elderly homes or assisted living facilities would you find? Assisted living facilities, zero. Reason being is because even today, I'm a witness with my own eyes. When I go to the village, I will see an independent woman. She has no child, she has no husband, she has no extended family at all, but the clan is there. They take care of her food, they take care of her things, they make sure they make sure of everything. A woman living in a village in some remote part of India or some remote part of Pakistan or Bangladesh would be better off than living in this society here, because in this society, there is nobody. Mercy do you know that mercy, that compassion, and that collectiveness and that worry that we had in our hearts is completely dead. Who cares if somebody is, as long as I'm not homeless? Who cares somebody doesn't have money, as long as I have money? Who cares somebody doesn't have somebody to look after them, as long as I have somebody? That's the attitude. That self-centered attitude is not Islamic ethos. That's a proper secular type of ethos that's been placed into you by the education and society around us. We as a community, collectively, you have to decide that, are you going to follow status quo? Are you going to follow? Is that what you're going to do? Is that what you're going to do? Then fine, you're not going in that direction. As you go further along that line, you will see how further that's the community, right? And that ourselves is going to become problematic, because one day we might be at the receiving end. We might be Allah protect us. We all hope that we have great children. We all hope that we have pious children, but not everybody has the capability. Not everybody has the, not everybody can assist. Nowadays, the working system is, if you had a child and the child from morning till evening, how is he going after the parent? What's going to happen during the day? So the child thinks, maybe I should put my father in an assist. Somebody's looking after him. And it is again, can you imagine what is going to go through the heart of that poor father when he's being transported to that assisted living facility? Listen, guys, these days we repeat amongst the people. There's a saying in the Urdu language, jaisi karni, waisi bharni. You do that today to somebody, then that you just be ready yourselves for that. There was a time, and sisters, I hope you're listening to this, so that we can all understand and open our. This tafsir of Quran is not just about what was revealed 1400 years ago. It's about how it's implementation of it today. And father who was being beat by his child. The child beat him, and took him to the edge of the stream. And then as he got to the edge of the stream, he says to his child, stop. So the child stopped. So people around him said, listen, why did you not just ask him to stop earlier? Why did you ask him to stop whilst you got to the edge of the stream? Because the reason being is because I did the same to my father, and I also did beat my father to the edge of the street. That's why. You see, these people amongst the people, guys, don't. And remember, I've told you many times that the contract that a believer signs with, a contract that is signed by a believer, and the contract of a person who refuses to acknowledge Allah is two different contracts. a believer's contract is that he's going to suffer for his crimes in this world. We are going to suffer for our crimes in which world? In this world. Remember, that's the contract. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to arrive in the hereafter free from sin. So everything has to be taken care of here. So all crimes are taken care of here. So sometimes when you see another person being tested, don't think that maybe that person is being tested for his crimes, because if everybody is tested for their crimes, then everybody would be in a very difficult situation. Very difficult situation. This murders that are being committed today is because of the systematic breakdown of the entire system. If you continue, and if you want to continue to educate your children in the same system, then go ahead. It is exactly like a pigeon walking down the street and a cat is walking towards it, and the pigeon says, let me put my wings over my eyes. As long as I don't see the cat, I am not in danger. As long as I do not see the cat, I am not in danger. And that's just deluding oneself. It's just deluding and pacifying oneself that it's going to be okay. My children are going to be okay. If you actually work on a level with the families, I can remember when two families, they both asked me in regards to their daughters that they wanted to go to med school, and one was going to go to this university in Virginia, one was going to go there. I said, listen, send them to the one that's closest to your home, that they spend the night at home. Because Imam Sahib, they're offering, whatever they're offering, the money that they're offering is, forget it. The one that's closest to your home, that the woman spends the night at home, is the best. A couple of years passed, somebody from the community approached me that they have a boy and they want to get married. So I called them, I said, listen, I have a proposal for your daughter. I thought that then the mother broke down. The mother broke down and goes, Imam Sahib, we were so shy to call you because we didn't listen to what you said to us. Our daughter refuses to get married to a Muslim man. Our daughter refuses to get married to a Muslim. Make dua. Now is what they make dua. I was telling you, at that time, don't do it. And when I'm telling you don't do it, I'm not telling you for myself. If you went to the Prophet ﷺ, he would have told you the same thing. Educate your child, but the child needs to be educated closer to home, especially if it's female, right? The other father called me and says, Imam Sahib, aapki baat humne nahi suni, we didn't listen to you. And daughter refused to come back from college. She just doesn't want to come home anymore. She goes, I'll just live here now. Get an apartment and live here. I don't want to come home anymore. So listen, if you can be like that pigeon and be deluded that nothing is going to happen, it's not going to happen to my child. That's what everybody else thought. And those children that were successful, say alhamdulillah. They managed to get through the system like with limited damage. They were still damaged, but limited damage, right? And we just make shukr of Allah that they are still intact and they're still somehow connected with their families. But inshallah, you need to connect those children back to the masjid. You need to connect those children back to the masjid. I want to see young men sitting in front of me. That I don't love seeing older men in front of me. I also want to see the young men in front of me, because what I've got to impart, they're going to benefit also, right? And I see, mashallah, you coming in my lectures consistently. Allah give you jaza. Mashallah. But a person who comes to the lectures consistently, men or women, you will find the barakah of the study of the Quran. It's an auto rectification of one's thought process. It automatically rectifies the way you think. The teacher molds the way you think automatically, irrespective if you like it or not. Once you sit in front of the teacher and true and sincere intention, the teacher molds your thought process. That's the power of a teacher, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَكُمْ فِي الْقِصَاصِ حَيَاتٌ. And you don't understand that you might think that to put the murderer to death, is very grave. It's big. But until you do not implement these type of rules, until these type of rules are not implemented in the system, until one man does not fear that if I take the life of another human being, my own life will be taken away from me, there is nothing to stop that man taking another person's life. If a man does not have fear that if I, na'udhu billah, was to go out and touch another a female, or I'm going to be with a woman that I'm not married to, or I'm going to be able to get away with the system. What's the system going to do? Give him a slap on the wrist, or put him away for a few hours or a few days, and eventually, if he has that kind of money, it depends what type of lawyers he has, right? Now, you just heard the latest Johnny Depp trial, and it was all over the news. I mean, it depends how much money you have at the end of the day, in this system, and what type of lawyers that you can afford. Now, Allah says, وَلَكُمْ فِي الْقِصَاصِ حَيَاتٍ. In qisas, in retribution, you have actual life. Meaning that this one murderer put to death today, will be a deterrent for another 100 murders. 100 murders will not happen because of that one being put to death. So in life, in qisas, you have life. And then if that person who's been put to death, and if he's a believer, if he acknowledges Allah, his sin is forgiven, because he was already punished for his crime. He's not going to be double punished. He lost his life for it, right? That's the penalty. And that's why there was a time in an Islamic in the Islamic history where a woman would be able to travel from one end of the peninsula to the other end without any guardian, and she would not fear of anybody harming her. But today she cannot go down the street. So there's Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrates that there is going to come a time that yanqusul amal, a man's action, his deeds will decrease, and we are in that time. Yanqusul amal, the deeds that a person does for the pleasure of Allah, they will decrease. Yanqusul amal, because the other thing that will happen, greed will be injected into the hearts of people. So what happens when a person stops working upon himself, when the amal decrease, the greed. What does it mean? Talk to me. What does it mean? Sisters, talk to me. What does it mean?
More than what he needs.
Greed is not just wealth, is it? It's everything. Now let me give you a mithal. You see a nice car and you want it. Is that greed? You see somebody other than your spouse and you're attracted to that person. You want that person. Is that greed? That's also greed. All right. You see an affluent person and you want that. Is that greed? So if you look at all the advertisements that are designed and all the marketing tools that are designed, they are designed to increase your greed. They're designed one purpose. They're no human's weakness. Make him greed and envy what he doesn't have, and let him buy it on his credit card. He doesn't have to pay for it. 6 easy installments, no problem, if he can pay it. Right? So wanting what is not what you don't have, wanting what you can't afford, right? Desiring what you can't afford, and that greed is the one that propels you to take on that huge amount of debt that you can't pay. All right? And the greed is the one that takes you out of the circle of one's means and start living on the handouts of others, because that was happen when you start living outside of your means, and that's what happens. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us. But greed is the number one reason that many crimes are committed. Many crimes are committed. If you just look at the word greed, you know, when a person's taken a shot in his arm, you know what I mean then, right? A shot in the arm. Nobody knows what I'm talking about. Not a vaccine, yeah. Pardon? Drugs, just if the sisters are better street smart than the brothers. But then sisters, the question arises, Tumko kis tarah pata? How do you know? So a person takes a shot in his arm, a person is looking for a point that he wants to smoke or he wants to take. Now, what do you think that is propelling him? What does a person feel when he injects himself with that substance? What does he feel? He feels high, but another sensation. What is it? Ecstasy. He feels happy. He feels that he's in a zone, right? Right? He feels unrestricted euphoria. There you go. Right? So the sisters are better describing than us, mashallah. We'll have to see what these kids get up to in their free time. But khair. But anyway, now all these things, that's what he's experiencing. Now, when he's not experiencing that, he's on the low, right? And now he wants to feel that what's the disease inside of him that's propelling him? Greed. Is greed for that same type of feeling of greed cannot just be for mata, from just the worldly goods. It can also be for a person, what he feels, what he wants to feel inside. He's greedy to replicate whatever he was feeling the first time that he took those drugs. So that's why Allah forbid, but addict is difficult once he gets on it. It's difficult, it's difficult. The best thing to do with an addict is, I'm live online. I'm live. The best thing to do for an addict is take him to some nice place, safe place, and lock him up and throw away the key and start feeding him until he doesn't get off whatever he's on. People will disagree with that, but if you don't do that, then it is very difficult to break those habits. Very difficult to break those habits. And these rehab centers, that's what they're designed for, right? These rehabilitation centers, you go in willingly. You don't walk out willingly if you've signed a contract. But if you've signed a weak contract, you can even get out of the rehab facility to do it. But khair, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is life. Ya ulil albab, or people of intellect, meaning that if one puts his mind, right, if one was considering it, he will definitely come to that in equal retribution, that is as la'allakum tuflihun. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, so that you can be successful. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us a divine guidance and tawfiq to act upon what has been said. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this fabric of our society that's been broken and split, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring it back together again, inshallah. If you have any questions, you can ask. If you don't have any questions, then I'm supposed to finish at 9:30, and you guys were supposed to have your pizza from 9:30 onwards. But I don't know if your pizza is, and I'm not sure if the chai is here. Pizza is here? Okay, I don't stop until the chai arrives. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanallah al-azim, subhanallah walhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim. Now, on a side note, whilst we're still talking, remember, we have the graduation coming up on September 3. After that graduation, there is going to be a program that is going to be initiated, and that program is going to be the 2-year intensive program for adults and for anybody past puberty. And remember, I use the word past puberty because there's going to be many things that are going to be discussed in that is only suitable for people who have passed puberty to hear those things, right? So 2 years intensive program. It's going to be 6 hours a week split up over 3 days. It's going to consist of study of hadith, study of Quran, study of morals, study of ethics, study of many different subjects that every human being, every believer needs. So we put together the program. The program should be available on the website very soon. It's for every single person out there. The program is designed for the masses. That was one complaint, that we were only catering for the scholars before, that those people who wanted to become scholars. This program is designed for every single college student, single adult. It doesn't matter what age you are definitely going to learn something. Do the 2-year intensive, and inshallah you will get a diploma at the end. You could also volunteer as chaplains afterwards if that's what you want to do. But even if you don't, you will get a very, very good understanding of your religion. We've taken out all the Arabic from it, so they're very less in memorization, but it's a lot of making sure that you're in classes. Every classes will be recorded just in case you missed a class. But we are hoping that every single person in our community will take part in it, inshallah. Inshallah, sisters, inshallah. It's in person and it is online, both. Some of our scholars. So we've also selected all the scholars that have had many years of teaching, and those are the people that will be teaching the programs, inshallah. Anyway, Jazakallah khair. Please, those people who are present, convey to those who aren't present. And then, inshallah, when we do send the message out to your WhatsApp groups, then please do convey to other WhatsApp groups also. This is important. This is for every single person in the United States. Every single person in the United States. Take this to your program. Inshallah, after that, you will be, as a father and as a mother, as a member of the community, you will be armed with everything that you need to survive the rest of your life, inshallah. Ji. We haven't decided the days, but obviously one will be a Sunday, one will be a Sunday. Ji. In the evening, 7 to 9. There is a person called Marana Javed, if you know of him. So he'll be teaching it, inshallah. Just hope that he has the time to do it, but inshallah that's one person on the list that will be teaching it. Marana Javed, Sheikh Javed, you heard about him? He also goes by another name, Imam Javed. All right, then, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanallah al-azim. Subhanallah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar. Wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim. I'll take permission of leave, inshallah.